Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Mile High Game Guys board gaming podcast. I'm your host Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And I am coming to you, this time it's me on vacation, from St. Louis, Missouri.
How is it?
It is quite warm, quite muggy, and otherwise pretty good.
Missouri?
Missouri. Yes.
Yeah, get it right.
Missouri, the state.
Yes.
Sounds about right.
Speaking of misery, how was trying to set up all this equipment here without you?
Holy shit. I just proved by not being there my technical value to this podcast.
No, because you didn't tell me what to do.
It's not my fault your laptop doesn't have a headphone and a microphone jack, Zach. That's entirely on you.
That's also true, but you also didn't tell me that I had to press a fucking button so to be able to hear you in the headphones.
4 hours.
4 hours it took.
We clearly should have done a trial run.
Yes.
We were all off of work super early and could have done this at any time after 1 o'clock.
Nope,
And
we're starting at our regular time.
at our regular time.
Yes.
Not that we haven't been here the whole time.
We had to disassemble a router and a cable modem to be able to get it here.
We tore down a wall.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have it on good authority. I'm going to come home to a demolished wall.
Yeah. Well, now you just have new access into the living room.
Yeah, Brian said it was okay. So we had a resident here said it was okay. So
Yeah.
Well, you know, Megan and I have for a long time said that if we owned the place, we'd want to tear that wall down anyway and put in like a little breakfast bar, buffet table thing so that you can just hand stuff from the kitchen right into the living room. And so I'm glad you took care of that for me.
Yeah, now you have an excuse to buy the place.
I'm sure it's not load bearing at all.
Well, I assume that in those 4 hours you had time to actually hire a general contractor, have him come down and evaluate the wall.
Well, you assume wrong.
Well, you assume we had a lot of time, which we did, but not that much time.
You had time for it, you just didn't do it.
Yes.
There was thoughts. There was also thoughts of just not recording this at all. Just be like,
Oh yeah, you guys all
it.
came real close to not getting an episode this
we
week.
were literally one more time of it not working, right to just being like, fuck it, and we're just going to release that other pandemic episode and be like, sorry everyone, we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
But we did.
We figured out everything that was wrong that we were doing, and so then it was only on the computer that was doing it wrong.
The computer was totally fucked.
Yeah, and so we had to cure it, and then we're like, if it still does it, then fuck it.
Then we're over.
Yeah.
It's over.
We're just gonna go murder on Murder Island.
Murder Island.
Yeah.
Speaking of Murder Island, Playerunknown's Battlegrounds. Zach and I have been clearly obsessed with it.
Yes.
It is now called Murder Island.
Yes.
Not because you. So the premise of the game, it's a kind of like the Arma series. So it's a third person, first person kind of military-esque shooter. But there's 100 people in an airplane in a giant island, and the airplane will always just randomly go over the island, and you just can jump out with your parachute at any time and go to all these buildings that have a bunch of guns and helmets and I don't know.
It's just every building is full of guns, like
Matrix jackets.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then a circle appears, and it's very Battle Royale-esque, where you have to get inside that circle or this blue wall will start constricting the area, and you take damage. But you also have to murder like 99 other people that also want to murder you.
It's only 98 other people if you're playing with 2 people.
Yeah, or 96 if you're playing with 4.
Yeah.
But there's vehicles, and like of those like King of the Hill survival, like DayZ-esque Arma mod kind of games, this is like the best one I've ever played.
Mainly because you don't have to craft shit.
No, you just pick stuff up and put it into your inventory. I mean, the inventory is pretty, like, there's some inventory management, but...
It was definitely enjoyable, and it has that tenseness of anytime you hear people shooting guns, because it has omnidirectional sound.
The gunshots in the distance are fantastic.
And so you're just like we're just walking around, and then we're like, we hear pa pa pa, and we're like, oh, that was to the east, and it sounded a good distance away, so I think we're okay.
Or we can just keep heading north, and we'll be fine.
Yeah. And you don't actually see that many people.
No. Well, if you go to the right areas.
Yes. But the couple you do, it's just like, oh God.
It's a fierce and sudden firefight of, oh my God.
Yeah. One time we were walking in a house, and I went to the right, Jeff went to the left, and he was just, oh God, people in here. Bam, 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 bam. I'm down.
Yep. There will be these artillery strikes that come down in like random areas, and we just so happen to be driving through one, and we're like, fuck, we can't get out of here in time before it hits. Let's go to that building. Some other people happen to be in that building already.
Yep. And then I killed one of them, and then the other person killed me and Jeff both.
Mm-hmm.
So how long do games of this typically take? Like
30 minutes?
30 minutes?
20 to 30 minutes.
Okay.
And could be signisignificantly less depending on how well you do when you land.
Right.
One of the times me and Jeff landed right next to 2 other people.
Yep.
And I just went at it fist style with this other guy until he grabbed a pan, and I was like, "Oh fuck!" He brought a
Then he
pan to a
ran.
fist fight.
I just happened to be in another building nearby. I killed his friend, and then I went out to the balcony. And I was like, "Zach, run into the courtyard so I can get a shot." And so he was chasing behind him with a pan, and I shot him in the back. It was great.
Clearly, I need to talk Megan into getting this, and then the 4 of us will.
I've got a bunch of friends that are playing. It's the new hotness. It's already done like over 3 million in sales on Steam. It's super fun even to just watch.
Yeah, and it's early alpha, so it's already enjoyable right now.
Early beta, late alpha.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's a pretty complete game already.
Yeah, they just need more stuff, more maps.
A little less buggy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Awesome.
So board games?
So board games. What have you guys been playing board game related?
Jeff, you want to start us off?
I haven't been playing much. We played the Grizzled with the expansion on the hardest difficulty with traps on Wednesday at game night.
Thanks,
Wits
Wesley.
End. Yep. He was like, we were like, "Oh, what difficulty did you choose?" And he's like, "The hardest one."
Oh,
And we were like,
God.
why? Why in God's name?
Would you do that?
It's really hard.
Especially when you're playing with 4 players.
Yes.
And the first trap card puts tyrannical on somebody.
Yes, I did.
So no speeches could ever be done.
No speeches got put out that entire game because no one could support me to get rid of tyrannical. The entire game.
We basically had the first round. That was our only chance of really doing it.
Yep.
And unfortunately...
And I got it from a trap. I didn't play it the first round.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the person across from you had a 50-50 chance of matching you, and they did, unfortunately. So
Yes. Yep. But still, we did okay. We didn't get trounced.
Right.
But I liked it.
Yep.
I like, the expansion with the mission cards adds a lot, and I like that a lot. Grizzled's still fun.
Yeah, I think we just needed an odd number of players. That would have been easier.
Yeah, with no one, because people with double right, double left can just go across from them, and they know it's going across from them. And we only had one of the doubles, I think, in that whole game.
Yeah.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Well, I kept passing my lefts to Jeff, and whoever was next to you kept passing their rights to you. Mm-hmm. And so it just kept, like, I didn't have enough lefts until it got around.
Yeah.
And it was just really annoying.
Yep.
Right on. So at game night for me, back on Wednesday, I played 2 games. I played a 5-player game of Isle of Skye with 3 new players. Played with Wes, Kaiser, who were both on the show recently, and then our friend Manny and his wife, Jenny. And they all really liked it. We had a good time. It was a surprisingly close game, and Manny jumped back from... I thought he was out of the game, and he managed to jump in and win it, which was good for him. And I mentioned Isle of Skye because we are going to also be on 30 Minutes Around the Table talking about Isle of Skye.
Aren't we already on it? Didn't it get released on Monday?
No, I believe it comes out on Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we will all, by the time people hear this, we will have already been on it.
Correct, but not on Monday.
Indeed.
Both episodes drop on Wednesday, so
Gotcha.
you'll be able to get a double dose of the Mile High game, guys.
Double D.
Double D. And then I tried a new game, 8 Minute Empire. I don't really have a lot to say about that. The main thing, gaming-wise, it was kind of fun for me, is so I'm here in St. Louis hanging out. My brother's always going to like board games, and he has helped very much fund my board game addiction by getting me board games for birthday presents for a while now. But so I brought back Legendary Encounter Alien, which I still have a copy from, I think, our first Gen Con that was in shrink.
Yeah, we both got it from the Ding and Dent area. Mine is still in its shrink from 2 years ago.
Yeah. So, well, I don't think mine was. I think I bought both Alien and Predator new from the Fantasy, or not the Fantasy Flight, the Upper Deck booth.
Yes. And then I found a Ding and Dent version, and you were like, fuck.
Yes.
Nice.
So it stayed in shrink wrap for almost 2 full years on my shelf. Because
we play Zach's version.
we play Zach's
basically,
version
yeah.
that's all sorted and cards are sleeved and everything's nice and whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I was going home and I knew my brother would enjoy this game. One of the types of games he really likes are those co-op deck builder type things. He really likes, it's a Cool Mini or Not game where you're, again, kind of defending the base from aliens and you build a deck.
Xenoshift?
That's the one. He really likes the Xenoshift app. And I've wanted for a while to get him Xenoshift the game itself, but didn't have a chance. I figured this would be right up his alley. Anyway, the fun thing about this, so this Mother's Day, and we, me and him, my mom was, relaxing and enjoying her day, watching some TV. We were taking care of things around the house.
So let me ruin your day for you.
Well, so me and my brother I was like, hey, do you want to play that Alien game? He's like, yeah, sure, let's play it. So we start setting it up, and my mom goes, well, hey, does it play more than 2 players? I was like, yeah. She's like, I'll play. It's like, all right, let's go. Sure, I'll teach you both. And so I taught my mom and my brother Legendary Encounter Alien. We played through the first scenario from the Alien movie, and amazingly enough, we won. And it was like, holy shit, I can't believe that we managed to win on the first time through, and I'm pretty sure I didn't play anything wrong.
Pretty sure.
Pretty sure. So then we went to dinner, took her out to dinner, had a bunch of fun at dinner, came back, and we were talking about what to do, and I was like, well, she's like, we could play other games, you brought a bunch of games. So I was like, yeah. I was like, do you want to learn something new, or do you want to play another scenario of Alien? And she was like, let's play more Alien. And so we pulled it back out and played through the second scenario from the Aliens movie and managed to win that one. So my mom is currently the only person I know on the planet who is undefeated at Legendary Encounter Aliens.
Did anybody shoot the cat or Newt?
Newt actually got rescued.
Oh, okay.
So we found Newt, and she got rescued. In the first one, the cat made it all the way to the combat zone and died.
Yep.
Womp womp.
And my brother, it happened on my mom's turn, and so my brother was giving her endless amounts of shit for killing the cat. It was pretty great.
Nice.
But yeah, we had a bunch of fun with it, and I wouldn't be surprised. We won't get to play tonight because my brother's at work all night. But I wouldn't be surprised if over the course of the next couple days we bust that out and finish the other 2 scenarios. So
that's good.
Really glad I brought it. The other thing they were giving me shit about is after we finished this, my brother had been giving me shit about not bringing the Predator copy that I also have. And then after we finished that second game, my mom leans over and whispers to him something, and all I catch is like, psst, psst, what's that game? And he goes, oh, Predator. And my mom looks at me and goes, you really should have brought the Predator game. I want to try the Predator game. I was like, son of a bitch, they're teaming up.
Yeah.
So
what a nice brotherly thing to do.
Yes. The kind of shit that I get on this podcast is the exact kind of shit that I get at home. So really it just feels like love to me.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Well, we'll shit all over you all you need.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you for that, guys.
It is our pleasure.
Yep.
So anyway, Zach, what have you been playing?
I think it was last weekend. You, me, you being Adrian.
This would be Friday.
Yes, it was Friday. Okay.
It was
Thursday.
Thursday. We'll just keep going back in time. So it was Adrian, Paul, and I. We tried out Yokohama that we got from TMG.
Our first
review copy.
copy.
Yes.
Our
so
first free game.
Thank you, TMG, Lance,
Tasty Minstrel.
over at TMG,
Yes.
for sending us that.
And so we got our first play of it, and I actually really like that game.
Which
we
still
would have no-
surprises me, but
We would have no fear of shitting all over this free game if it was bad, and we would tell you.
But I definitely
But it was actually
enjoyed, yes.
good. Apparently, I don't know. I wasn't there because I was busy working all night.
Yeah, like a loser.
Yeah.
yeah.
But so this one it's like, it takes place in the 1800s. Japan just opened up its borders, and and it's all about trading with all these different companies, or not different countries. Mm-hmm. And it has this worker movement, sort of like the colonists or Istanbul, I believe. Mm-hmm. And you're going around, you're leaving assistance, and they help you power up the abilities that you have to do on a location.
Right.
And then you can get, there's like technologies you can get that change how you play. There are contracts that you can fulfill with goods, and they give you additional points. There's like a church to go to that you can give goods out, and you get points. And then customs, you can trade in, import goods, and you get points. It has a bunch of different ways to get points. I don't know. I just really liked it.
It's a good game.
Yes. Adrian, what did you feel about it?
So this was definitely a case where I was not in a good state to play a game. I was tired, and I was surprisingly well on my way to being drunk.
Shocker.
I know, right? People are going to think I'm an alcoholic or something listening to this podcast.
No.
But even though I got thoroughly tranced, really what killed me on this game is I was at work. While I was busy at work, both Paul and Zach were able to spend the day watching gameplay videos And like Paul said at one point that he had like his first 5 moves planned out before we even started.
That's a Paul thing to do.
It is.
That is a very Paul thing to do.
That's why I will never play Food Chain with him ever again.
Correct. So I definitely felt like I started at a distinct disadvantage, and then I missed a very crucial rule during the rules explanation that I think super hampered me. So I lost pretty hard.
You still did well enough.
I did shockingly well considering.
I think you're only like 15 points behind me or something like that.
Yeah, like 20 behind Paul.
Yeah, and basically the rule he missed is so I said, like I said earlier, when you have assistants at a location, they add up your power, or they add to your power. If you have any buildings there, like the stores or trading houses, those also add. And Adrian missed that apparently.
Yeah. Basically, any piece you have on a tile adds to your power there.
So you weren't building as well as you should have?
Not nearly as well.
Well, I was building, but I wasn't counting my buildings as my power. So like I'd have 3 workers somewhere and I'd take the reward for 3 when I'd also have a building there and could take the reward for 4, which is usually also involves building another building. So things like that were hurting me a little bit.
We were watching a lot of the stuff that he was doing, but like we figured that it was like that was so central to it that it was like, of course Adrian didn't mess that up. And then I was doing something and he goes, "Why do you have 5 there?" And I'm like, "Well, I have my 3 assistants, my president, and this house." And he just goes, "The houses count?" And we're like, "Yeah." And he, like, his face, like he just was like, it looked like he just wanted to say, "Fuck this game," and just walk off, Adrian.
Oh, I did. I was really tired at that point, and I was not feeling great.
That's what happens when you start drinking at 3 o'clock.
All of that said, I did still really enjoy the game. I do look forward to playing it some more. I'm glad that you like it, Zach, although this might be one of those where, just like how Jeff won't play games with Paul anymore, if you continue to be good at this game, I might not be able to play with you. Because I get really mad when you beat me. I want to beat you so bad, and when I can't, it frustrates me to no end.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I didn't even win that one. Paul was the one that won that one.
No,
so.
You didn't. Well, yeah.
Why do you still like playing games with Paul then?
I don't know, Paul. I've said this before. The thing that frustrates me about, like, Paul loves the same games as me, so I know Paul's going to watch strategy and read all this. So, like, I expect him to be better. Half the time with games like these, you're like, "Yeah, I don't really like this game," and then you beat everyone at it, and it's like, how are you so good at games you don't like? It's not supposed to work that way.
And yet, it does.
And yet.
Because I won my first game of Food Chain Magnet, so.
Yep. I was not in that game, though.
No, but Paul was.
And me. I was much more competitive in that first game.
Yes, you were.
So stay tuned. We will do a review of Yokohama at some point relatively soon. We got to get a few more plays in under our belt, get Jeff some plays under his belt.
All I've done is punch out the cardboard.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will say the video that I watched when playing it was John Gets Games. He was doing the deluxe edition or deluxeified edition.
Yes.
And when we were punching out the board before, like when we were here at your place, when I didn't look at the deluxe one, I was like, "Oh, this stuff looks nice. Like all these tiles look good, blah, blah." And then I saw the deluxeified one and I was like, "Man, Adrian's copy looks like shit now."
Man, fuck this free copy of a board game we got.
No, it's definitely not. But yeah, just looking at deluxe at all these like nice wooden pieces. Like the tea looked like little tea leaves.
Oh.
The fish
I've heard the box barely closes if you have the deluxeified version.
I'm very sure that is the case.
Yeah.
It's bulky.
Yeah, but no. The game still does actually look good, but the deluxeified one definitely is a deluxe version.
Yes.
Nice.
And I'm jealous that I didn't get that.
Yeah.
Well, secondary market, buddy.
Good luck.
Yeah. Or I could just steal it from somebody.
Yeah. Stealing is also an option.
I think they also do keep they make a handful of extras for replacements in case some get damaged in shipping or don't show up. And then they also use some for sale at conventions and stuff. So you might, if you really want to, be able to pick it up at one of the conventions we'll be going to this year.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try and look for it at Gen Con.
Cool.
Which I will have a lot more spending money, so hooray.
Hooray!
Nice. Alrighty, so I think that kind of wraps up Banter and covers what we've been playing, unless you guys have anything else.
Murder Island.
Yeah, so I guess we're ready to move on to news and Kickstarter segment.
And now for Kickstarters and news. Starting with news. We don't have much news this week. A couple little tidbits out there. Blood Bowl Death Zone Season 2 That is the kind of like mini rulebook expansions that they're releasing that have the new rosters for teams. Not that they don't have all those legacy ones available, but these have all the fluff and crazy stuff that people like. It's going to have the Underworld team, the Goblins, and then the Chaos Renegades. I don't think I've seen a single person ever play Underworld and Chaos Renegades.
Why not?
I think they're super new, or like they were like the newest teams, or the latest teams that were added before the revival.
Gotcha.
Or before it was discontinued and then revived again. And they're just not that great. They're not that good. They're like a tier 4 team. It's got some more star players and stuff in there, which, I mean, And new optional rules, which are the most useless things for anyone that I know. We never use the optional rules. There was like power cards you could use in the new edition of Blood Bowl. They are so overpowered, and you get like a D3 roll of how many you actually get for the game.
Ugh.
So you can get 3 and another person gets 0, and they are super powerful. It is not a league level thing. So this is going to have more rules, like you can get sponsorship deals or buy your own stadium, or
are you guys going to use any of that?
no, God no. I hope not. The Ant would not want to use those in any way, shape, or form.
Gotcha. Okay.
Rules for like star refs and coaching staff. And then like fluff on like famous teams, which I always enjoy, like hearing the trials and tribulations of like the Green Boys and the Celestial Comets, other famous teams, and new reference guides and stuff like that. It's going to be 80 pages and probably $40.
Okay.
So yeah, more Blood Bowl.
Hooray!
Coming soon. Hooray!
Nah.
You too have said that you need to play and learn Blood Bowl.
Yes.
So that needs to happen, apparently. You can play Paul, Adrian. See how that turns out for you.
Oh, God.
Zach can play Ant.
Yeah, maybe.
Or either of you can play me and probably still win.
I like that option.
Yeah. Next piece of news, Race for the Galaxy has become an app. Not that it didn't exist illegally on the PC for a very, very long time.
The old Keldon AI, which was fucking impossible.
It was horrible.
No, so the new app is nice. I have it. I've been playing it a decent amount. I only have the base game. I haven't paid for the expansion yet. I'm sure I inevitably will, because Race for the Galaxy is one of my favorite games. The AI is not as punishing, at least not on the easy and medium difficulties. I don't know. I haven't worked up past medium yet.
To be fair, Advanced Neural Network AI by Keldon Jones.
Oh, he actually helped with that?
He actually helped make the AI in this app.
That's cool.
So the hard level of this is probably still going to be damn near impossible.
Yeah.
I saw Patrick from What Did You Play This Week tweeting that he is really glad they don't have win-loss statistics anywhere in the app. So
mostly L's on that?
I
can
get
understand
the feeling there's mostly L's on that for Patrick.
That's why I'm glad Zelda Breath of the Wild doesn't have a time played on it either.
Or deaths. Oh, man. I've had at least a couple embarrassing deaths in that.
Or
I'm
death.
glad I don't have to remind myself of that.
Yep. Just in your nightmares.
Yeah, I lifted a door up with magnetism and then I dropped it on myself.
Anyway, Race for the Galaxy, the app is really good. The UI is really sleek. It works real well. Everything's very clear. It actually works pretty well. It doesn't do a great job of explaining the iconography, but the way the app actually handles using, like, it shows you very clearly when you're in the production phase, here's all the cards that have a production ability. Which ones do you want to use? Or how do you want to use them? Or some of them it just automatically does. So I wouldn't say it'd be necessarily great for learning. It'd be good for learning, teaching somebody how to use, like picking which phase they want to do. But learning the exact iconography, I don't think it's going to really help with that, unfortunately. The only way to learn that is just to suffer through it.
Yeah. But the app is super feature complete for something that just came out. 2 to 4 player, online multiplayer, asynchronous multiplayer, real-time multiplayer, and I think the entire base game all in there.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a really well-done app.
$7, but it might be a little stiff for some people. Each of the expansions are another $4 each. The first 2 expansions, Gathering Storm and Rebel vs. Empyrean, are currently available for purchase.
Now, the thing that I need to look into a bit, and one of the things that's held me off from buying those expansions is, so I think, both of those expansions for the actual physical game, but I only use them for the new cards. I don't use any of the new goal scoring or objectives or any of that.
I like objectives. They're nice.
Yeah. So I hope I would hope that you can maybe select which aspects of those you use. Like you buy it. And
I'm sure you can.
I just want to use the cards. I want to use, I don't know. We'll see. I got to look into it more.
Spend more money.
Yes. Always.
Our last little piece of news. So a little bit of detail on Isle of Skye expansion came out. There's some cool new victory point scoring tiles. And then kind of a new road system.
Yeah, it's a new way to play the game, I believe.
Yeah. It looks really interesting, and I am interested to learn more about it.
Yeah, so the information that came out, basically Lookout Games on their Facebook put up some pictures of people playtesting, and it looks like it's going to add a sideboard. And I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work, and they even have little they look like pieces from Catan that I think might be... You can build your own roads, yeah. So, if you don't have a road connecting something, you can build a road to connect it.
That'd be pretty cool. Is this developed by Alexander Pfister? Do you know of?
I have no idea.
Once again, another question asked and left unanswered.
Andreas Pelican?
Thank you, Jeff.
I don't know.
Yeah, well...
New scoring tiles and completely new addition to the game.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, I played Isle of Skye on Wednesday at game night, and we are doing the 30 minutes around the table again. And actually, Alexander Pfister, who I think he is involved in the expansion, because I know they were talking a little behind the scenes chit chat on 30 minutes around the table. He's on the episode, so you'll get to hear from Alexander Pfister about designing and his thoughts on his own game, Isle of Skye. And they were hoping that they would get the exclusive on the announcement of the expansion, but it showed up on Facebook a couple days in advance, unfortunately.
Gotcha.
So
and that's it for news.
Indeed.
But we have plenty of Kickstarters to talk about.
Very many. At least more than two.
At least more than two. Moving on to Kickstarters, we're going to start with a Zach requested and favored Flow of History Deluxeified by, this one is being developed by TMG Games. It is currently well-backed, 65K of a 20K goal, over 2,000 backers. This one's got 3 weeks left and a $22 or $29 pledge.
So the original game, Flow of History, I believe was it was originally an Asian game. It was developed by Jesse Lee, who actually did Ponzi Scheme. If you remember me talking about that.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So this is a civilization building game, and it looks to be it has a lot of commonality with Through the Ages, people are saying, but it plays an hour or is it?
So a tenth the time?
Yeah. That sounds about right. Yeah, it plays in a much shorter time.
60 to 90 minutes.
60 to 90 minutes. There we go. I really like the deluxeified content of this. They have oversized cards now, which are and they're very beautifully colored. They have metal coins that it comes with, 72 of them. It even comes with a plastic tray, folding market board, so reference cards, and then it's going to have unique player markers too. And the deluxeified edition is $29 over the retail's $22, and the deluxeified one that would MSRP for $50. So you're getting a pretty good deal. Coins alone.
Yeah.
You're getting 72 metal coins and a game for $29.
Yeah.
Free shipping too.
It's a pretty killer deal.
Yeah, and I like that it has sort of the same bidding mechanic as Isle of Skye that you were just talking about, because when you want to purchase a card, you have to invest in it, so you put some money on there, and then if it goes another round, then you can get that card. But someone can be instead of investing in a different card, they're I'm just going to snipe your card, and so they pay you some money, and then they just get that card immediately. Yeah,
the main difference is so that I noticed there is in Isle of Skye, if you bid say 2 on a tile and somebody wants to buy it, they give you 2 and you take your 2 back, so you end up with 4. This one, I was watching the rules play, if you invest 2 on something, on your turn you can buy it and that 2 just goes to the center. If somebody else wants to buy it, they give you their 2, your 2 still goes to the center, and then they get the tile. So it's a little bit different, not quite as powerful.
It is definitely different because you're investing in it, and you're you've already invested that money, and someone's just here's your investment back.
Yeah.
And instead of you said, instead of you getting double your money, basically. But it definitely looks cool. And I like that it's going to be in a shorter time, too. So I'm definitely looking forward to that one.
Yeah. Should be March next year.
Yes.
But you get a good deal on a Kickstarter, which is hard to see sometimes.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Legendary Showdown Presidential Edition. This is by Killer Robot Games. It is got about a month to go. It's only got 21,000 of its $75,000 goal, 383 backers, and your pledge will run you about $20, unless you want everything, and that's like, the atrocious usual dollar amount.
Right. It looks like you can get the first game from this too, right? Like it's basically
you can get all
the
old,
previous stuff.
Yeah, you can get all the old expansions, which I think have kind of gotten hard to find. This one will have presidential stuff, including the wonderful Donald Trump, but also Ronald Reagan with a lightsaber or Pistolier Andrew Jackson.
Yeah. Donald Trump's like Iron Man, but it's gold suit. I don't know.
Yes.
Bizarre.
It is very, very bizarre. The reason I'm interested in this is because I really love Dr. McNinja. So does our friend Wes, friend of the show. It's an interesting version of Munchkin, sort of, overall. You get like a set of heroes that you can kind of buff with bazookas and lightsabers and all that weird stuff. Or the Beard of Destiny. Or an ugly baby. I don't know. And you just sort of go till someone's dead. But it's like playing Munchkin with three characters instead of one. Except more, I don't know, less you can do to delay the game horribly for an hour.
Yeah, nice. Most turns. So I played this at Tabletop Day, and although I didn't love it, I will admit it's a better game than Munchkin. It's a better version of Munchkin. That's not a huge bar to set, but it meets it. Most turns, like Jeff said, everybody starts with 3 characters, and most turns only one character will live. So everybody will lose, except for one person. Everyone will lose one of their characters. Now you can add additional ones. At one point in the game, we were playing somebody had like 5 characters, and then there's certain ways where it's like, oh, I was going to die, but now I play this card, and haha, I don't die. Suckers. But most people lose people every round, so it doesn't take too long to start whittling down. But, yeah.
Yeah. And the President's one will, it plays with, you have political parties like the National Party and the Constitution Party. It's got presidents throughout history.
Seems to add more to the game.
Yeah,
That's
some
good.
stuff are pretty interesting, like giving Abraham Lincoln a freeze ray or giving bear arms to
somebody.
Thomas Jefferson.
A weapon exercising his right to bear arms.
Yep.
Which are actual bear arms.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah, that one's got about a month left. I might try and back just for the Dr. McNinja set, just because I love Dr. McNinja. Ever shall he rest.
Yeah, it'll probably. It looks like it should
Fund,
because it's basically 30 days left.
Yeah.
It just came out and it's already a third of the way there.
Indeed. Up next on Kickstarters, we have Manhattan Project 2 Minutes to Midnight. This one's from Minion Games. It is just a smidge above funded, $50K on its $40K goal, 808 backers. And this one also has a little bit under a month left to go. Your average pledge is going to run you about $60.
That sounds about right. So this is this is a sequel to Manhattan Project, the first one.
Correct.
And
Not an expansion.
Not an expansion. And Energy Empire was its own thing. So this one basically takes place about 20 years later than Manhattan Project, and fizzurable material is easy to come by.
Fissile?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
And this one's gonna have more like Cold War era strategic bombers, nuclear submarines.
It's about delivery systems, not the bombs themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this one has the different workers. It has the general workers, politicians, spies, and generals. And one thing that I was watching a preview on this that looked interesting is you don't necessarily get certain bonuses when you put the character down. Like Energy Empire, you sort of get them when you retrieve. And there are certain ones, like you can put spies in different people's buildings or different spots, but there are ways to get rid of those spies before they have a chance to actually activate it. So it looks like it's a good evolution of the formula. It's not going straight back to Manhattan Project style play. It actually is adding onto it, which I really like.
Yeah. So it looks like there's going to be a ton of stuff in this game. Bunch of different player boards and actual like main game boards, and Yeah, I see the spot you were talking about, Zach, where you can do counter-espionage to remove a spy player. And I like that they changed up the workers. So instead of it being like a general worker, a scientist, and an engineer, now it's going to be the laborers, politicians, generals, and spies. I think that's cool that they took that same concept of specialized workers, but changed what the specializations are.
Well, it makes sense because like the first one is just about being able to build those bombs. This one, everyone can do it. So now it's all about the big game, the actual politics of it. So I definitely agree with you though. And I am very much looking forward to this.
Yeah. So Jeff, you'd mentioned that it was about a $60 pledge. So that's for the US, which that's one thing I noticed it's a little bit weird about this one is the pledge levels. So the $59 is the US general. It's one copy mailed anywhere in the US. But then it's $70 to go anywhere in the EU, $74 for our Canadian listeners, and then $80 for anywhere else in the world. So the main sets of pledges are based upon, I guess they're shipping a little bit, but they ramp up quite a bit, like going from 60 in the US to 74 in Canada plus the exchange rate. That's kind of rough for our Canadian listeners.
Yeah, I would say most places the shipping is actually pretty bad. Like, especially if you're shipping from the US.
Oh, yeah.
I am a little surprised to see that EU is less than Canada.
I think Canada gets pretty boned on shipping.
Well, the funniest thing about the Canada one to me is it says one copy mailed anywhere in Canada, but shipped from the UK to save on shipping costs. So it's cheaper to ship from the UK to Canada than the US to Canada.
Well,
brutal.
Because I guess, technically it would go to maybe, I don't know.
It makes no sense. There's no
other than shipping sucks.
Yeah. So so sorry
Indeed.
for especially anybody who's not in the EU, the US, or Canada, because they're the ones paying $80 for this game plus whatever their conversion rate is.
Yes.
If you have an unfortunate conversion rate, you're paying a whole lot for it.
Well, I know like people from Australia pay a crap ton, not only for board games,
They
but
do
video
for
games
everything.
And stuff. Yeah.
That's what they get for living on an island.
I mean, technically, aren't we living on an island?
On the island Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the exact definition of an island, yada, 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 yada.
Yeah.
Anyhow, that's been
Anyway.
Project 2.
2 minutes to midnight. Also a great Iron Maiden song.
Yes.
We are going to move on to RONE, Races of a New Era. I mentioned this one a long time ago on
Gaming Rules Podcast by Paul Grogan.
which we did a little, 60-second clip.
Something like that.
15 seconds. Yeah. We did it multiple. We had multiple takes to try and fit in all three games.
I'm sure it took us an hour and a half to record.
At least.
At least. This one is from a name that has way too many asterisks over names for me to pronounce. I'm going to go Steven Stefanik.
It's got to be like Stepan Stefanik.
That sounds way better. RONE, Races of a New Era, second edition, plus expansions. Not quite funded, $4,200 on its $18,000 goal. A little less than 100 backers and a little more than 3 weeks to go. This pledge will run you about $30, $45 for the core set and all the new expansions. This one I have been interested in because it's post-apocalypse with cyborgs and mutants, and it's a deck builder. So that has almost literally checked every box that you could have.
It's like they made a game straight for you, Jeff. If only this was Warhammer Blood Bowl themes.
Yes.
If only.
I hope it funds. I missed out on the first edition, and I haven't been able to find a copy. It looks like they're going to be upgrading the art to be more colorful and changing around some of the mechanics, like most second editions, clearing up some of the mechanics and adding some new ones in there. It's a deck builder where you're like, you get to see your whole deck, where it's not quite constructed, but you start with a deck that you won't particularly be buying cards out of like a pool, but you'll be using your cards in your deck to do different things with the cards that you have already in there, which may or may not make sense. But you'll shuffle through your entire deck multiple times, trying to play cards off of other cards. Like in Star Realms, where if you get your blobs going, you start drawing cards and things like that. I hope it funds. This is my first Kickstarter that I've backed in quite a while. And
Oh, really?
yeah, I think Bears versus Babies was the last one.
Oh,
damn.
God.
Yeah.
That's like 6 Kickstarters ago for me.
Yeah. New rulebook, new card backs. Looks interesting. I've wanted to play it, and I am looking forward to hopefully getting this sometime next year, like maybe February of next year.
Okay, then.
If it funds. I
If
don't know.
it funds.
Yep. It's from the Czech Republic as well, so European Kickstarter.
Thus the name that Jeff could not pronounce. So yeah, so the episode we were on for Gaming Rules that we did that video for, we didn't mention. It was the Essen preview
Yes.
one, which I think it's funny that one was that we were on that episode, and then Gaming Rules, Paul Grogan had a whole bunch of stuff come up in his personal life, and he didn't do another episode for 6 months. So essentially, the first time we actually technically went on another show or did anything for another show, they went off air for 6 months.
We shut them down.
So
Competition gone.
Yeah, they just couldn't handle us.
Yeah. It's like, man, I got to take a break.
Yeah.
After these guys.
yeah, so that was also the one. It was humorous. Listen to that one. Zach, your submission for it was raise your goblets, and the way we said it, because we were trying to cram things in, so we were speaking very quickly. Paul thought you said razor goblets, and he was having
Razor
trouble
goblets?
finding a game called Razor Goblets. But he eventually did sort that out. So it was very humorous.
That game has come out, and I have not played it.
I have not played it either.
We have not, for having looked forward to it.
I haven't seen a copy of it.
In fact, I
which
think
might be
I'm the only one who actually attained a copy of the game that we listed in that show, because I got my copy of Feast for Odin.
As did I.
Oh yeah, I forgot you bought one too.
Indeed. I have a sweet insert for it now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Second to last on Kickstarter. The last main one we're going to talk about is Ursa Minor, Bears Mining Honey. This was by Room and Board Games. It is just a smidge above funded, $12,444 of its $12K goal, 300 backers, and a little over 3 weeks to pledge. This one only has one backing level of $24.
So this is an interesting one. Jeff was the one who kind of added it and pointed it out here. But the kind of cool thing, I think the thing that got Jeff to talk about it was the little GIF they have on the page of how you build the board by stacking these tiles to make a little 3D pyramid honeycomb that you then send a bunch of bears onto.
Yes, so you are in the honey mines, and as you build the board with a deep area, a second level and a third level, and then everyone starts on the third level, moving little bear meeples around and mining out the honeycomb as you go until you're kind of restricted in what movements you can make, and then the game will end.
Yeah, so it says when the deck runs out is when the game ends. So you have cards like Shove, move all bears on a tile to another single tile up to 2 spaces away. So you just kind of push each other around and fight over these things, and as you get deeper through this little bear mount honeycomb, it takes more and more bears to actually successfully clear a tile.
Yes, because you only start with 2 on the board, and then you have 3 more in reserve. It looks interesting, quick, sort of all ages game, 3 minutes, 2 to 4 players, ages 8 and up. I think it would be a good game night game.
That's kind of what I'm hoping for. It looks like it'll be the kind of game it's eye-catching and interesting enough to get somebody to sit down, but it's light and accessible enough that you can play it at a brewery with everybody drinking and, people don't get overwhelmed.
I'm a big fan of the art style as well.
It is very silly.
Yes.
What caught me was the fact that it was called Ursa Minor, and it was about bears mining.
Yes.
I was like, I like that pun.
Yep. It's a good one.
So, at the risk of exposing my ignorance, what's the pun?
Ursa Minor is a constellation.
Ursa Minor, Ursa Major.
So yes, it's a is it a bear constellation?
Yes.
It is a bear constellation.
Okay.
Yes.
See, that's where I was missing it. Because I know Ursa Minor was a constellation, but for some reason I really didn't think it was a bear. And I don't get where honey plays into it.
Bears eat honey.
And they're mining it.
I mean, okay, yes, aside from that.
Ursa is, in another language, means bear.
And minor, they're this, they're homophones.
I got
not
that
another-
part, yes.
Okay, just making sure.
All right.
And a final quick touch on Kickstarters. Deadly Premonition, the board game, which is a really, really bad Xbox 360 game by Swery, who is a fantastic Japanese game designer, not a guy that swears a lot.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
Because I would have definitely thought the other.
It's basically a crappy Twin Peaks detective game, but now they are turning into a board game. This one has blown past all of its goals, funded in 8 hours, 116,000 on a 50K goal, 1,800 backers, a little under about 3 weeks to go, and a pledge level of $30, which includes a Steam key for Deadly Premonition, the director's cut. That was a very buggy Xbox 360 game with very poor voice acting.
Hopefully the voice acting in this game's better.
They would get dropped off at a bus station,
Up,
and
Zach.
like the detectives would get dropped off at a bus station, and then they would be like, "Man, we got to find this old guy with 2 kids." And it like as the cutscene is happening, like you can see them literally like sitting right behind the detectives and be like, "I wonder where they are." And then they turn around and they're like, "Oh, they're where they are."
There you are.
It was a game that had some issues, but it's a cult classic, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, and the board game's basically your detectives trying to find the killer and stuff like that. But
Gotcha.
yep.
Yeah, so it looks like it's weird in that it's a 2 to 4 player game, but it looks like it's meant to be played predominantly as a 2-player game. And so somebody is the killer, and then you have like your 6 suspects, and you slowly move them up to presumed innocent until somebody eventually gets to finally accuse you?
Basically. But you have to kind of get it right, or it's like, well, you lose.
Interesting.
Yeah. It looks interesting. It's got a special edition, standard edition. It's definitely going to exist, and we'll see how good it is when it comes out.
Indeed we
December
will.
this year? Maybe later this year.
Indeed.
I bet that won't get pushed back at all.
Probably not. Cool.
That's it for Kickstarters.
All right, that wraps it up. I think we can move on towards the actual review. So for this week's review, we are going to be covering Blood Rage. This is a 2015 release from designer Eric Lang, published by Cool Mini or Not, Simon Now. It plays 2 to 4 players in 60 to 90 minutes. Zach, you got a rules breakdown for us?
Yes, I do. In Blood Rage, Ragnarok has come, and it is your last chance to fight for glory before the world ends. Over 3 ages, you'll be drafting cards to help your Viking clan have the best chance in the upcoming battles. These include clan, leader, and boat upgrades, quest cards to gain you extra points, attack cards to help you in battle, and legendary creatures to give your side extra strength. In the action phase, you can invade provinces with additional troops, move your troops to consolidate your power, upgrade your clan, accept quests, and pillage villages for stat upgrades and glory from fighting. At the end of each age, you will score any quest cards you have, and Ragnarok will destroy a province, providing extra glory to figures slain in the destruction. After 3 ages, whoever has the most points wins.
That's Blood Rage.
Indeed.
Blood Rage.
Oh my god.
Viking death metal.
Yes.
So, are either of you a part of the board game group on Facebook?
No.
So there's a couple people on there who are just Blood Rage fanatics. And so they always post like the little like meme for the like really excited like yelling baby and do it with Blood Rage.
Gotcha.
Over and over in random threads. It's mildly, as a Euro player, it's mildly annoying.
I bet it would
Anyway,
be for you.
Initial thoughts going into this game. Who wants to start?
I'll start. I remember seeing this on Kickstarter, and I thought it looked pretty cool. And then unfortunately, I didn't have money when the Kickstarter ended, but I was able to get a late pledge in. I think this was the first. Was this the first time they did like late pledges?
No, I'm pretty sure they've done
Zombicide.
late pledges on some of the Zombicide stuff for a while.
Gotcha. Well, I was able to get into that, and the art is what drew me in at first. Those and the minis, I was like, that looks like a cool game. I didn't really know much about Eric Lang at the time, so it was just purely based off the minis and the art, and I ended up getting the 5-player expansion for it as well. Basically, I got everything except for the art book, and I was really looking forward to playing this when I finally got it. I think 6 months after they said I would. Sounds about right. And I couldn't wait to get this to the table. And so I was really looking forward to it when I first played it.
So for myself, this came out right when I was still very much hyped in my cool minis, war games, craziness, zombicide phase that I went through. I also did not have money for it at the time. I was, however, able to... I knew you were going to get it, and then we were able to convince our friend Nick who thoroughly loves all things Viking and Ragnarok to pick up a copy. I think it's one of the few modern board games he owns.
He has 2 games, I believe, right now. Blood Rage and Yahtzee.
Yeah. And I think he might have just picked up Legendary Encounters because it was on sale. But
that sounds about right.
So, yeah, we got him to pick this up, and a couple other people I knew were picking it up. And so there were enough people getting it that I was okay with letting it slide. I was a little bummed because by the end of the Kickstarter, I knew that there were going to be a whole bunch of exclusives that I'd never have a chance to get. But I was okay with it because I figured enough people would have them that I'd be around it, and I didn't need it for myself. So that was my thoughts, kind of, initial thoughts on the game. Hefe?
I totally missed the Kickstarter, so I didn't really hear anything about the game until it had released. And then I think it was around a Gen Con that it released. Kind of looked at it there, but didn't really pay much attention to it until you guys started talking about it. And it was dudes on a map with lots of sweet miniatures.
That's the game.
That is. And drafting.
Yes.
But, all right, well, let's dive right into the meat of this. Components.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the components are pretty good.
So these were the first minis I saw from Studio McVeigh. They did this one, they did the others, and they did Rising Sun as well. Mm-hmm. And I was blown away by the quality of those, especially like the giant ones. The giant, they had so much detail on them. The Fenrir, the wolf, he was on this giant rock that was really well detailed, and like you could see all his fur. And I was just like, oh my god, that looks great. And then I saw all the characters. Like I think it's the Bear Clan. They have this giant like bear cloak on them or whatever. And you could see all the fur in there. And it was really like all of their minis are extremely well detailed.
Each one of the 4 clans are all unique models,
and each one has unique, like at least 2 different sculpts in there. I think.
Yeah, which is insane. There's like a leader model, and then the clansmen have 2 different models. I guess the weakest part about their components is like, all the boats look the same, I guess.
The 4 boats in the entire game all look the same. What shabbiness.
But even then, they have removable colored flags that you can put into them.
Yes. They also... So I have the Kickstarter edition, like I was saying, and so I had all of the upgraded components, like all the 3D sculpts for the markers for your clan board and the marker for glory, as well as for Ragnarok and whatnot. So those all look really nice. And I remember getting it came with the cardboard pieces too, because that's what the base game. Yeah, that's what the base game came with. And I was just like, they looked fine enough, but seeing them next to the 3D printed ones, you're like, I feel bad for the people that don't get the 3D printed ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there are people that have made like standee versions of some of the monsters that are harder to find.
That makes sense.
From the exclusives and stuff.
The art looks great on it too. Like all in the cards.
Yes.
For the monsters and the clan upgrades and all that stuff, they all look really nice.
Which the artist for this one is Adrian Smith. He's done a lot of stuff for them for Zombicide. He's actually both at this point now. Adrian Smith and Eric Lang are both now permanently hired by Cool Mini.
Yeah, they did some good work.
Yeah, they had that. The others, and Rising Sun, all big hits on the Kickstarter. So, and you know what?
And like I said, Adrian Smith's been doing guest art for a while for things like Zombicide and some of their other things that they've done. So
he did. He worked on Conan as well. Yeah. So I bet after prolific. That they were just like, let's just lock this shit down right now.
How much money do you want?
Yeah. we have this giant pile. Just grab as much as you think's fair, and then you stay here.
Yeah. Just a bucket of quarters.
Here's a blank sheet of paper. Please write a number on it, and we will say yes to whatever number you write.
Yeah.
And then as a joke, he's like, $1. And he's like, fuck.
Shit. Should have gone higher. Yeah, all the card art is fantastic. They're all smaller size cards.
Yes, but I think that works well enough just because of how much drafting you have to do.
Yeah, you have like 3 ages, and then things get more powerful from there.
And they go on the board, or they go on your board, so...
That's why I think the mini cards are better, is because you're putting like 5 of them on your board. Like, you can get away with the full-size cards in a game like Seven Wonders, where they're sliding, under your board or under your wonders, and the way they build's a little different. But this one, to fit them on a reasonably sized player board, I think it definitely works better for them to be the mini-sized cards.
Yes. You do not have to worry about mini-sized miniatures on that board, however.
No, it's a big board.
Yeah, and the miniature scale in the game goes from pretty small to fucking huge.
Yeah.
Like the fire
giant
giant
with its sword, and you're
Yeah,
just like, oh,
like-
yeah.
And then the big like frost troll with the huge boulder.
Yes, and you
Those
don't
are both
always
big.
you don't always use every one of them in every game, but you wish you did.
Yeah, that's very true.
There's a lot of miniatures in this game, but when do we want to kick in? Like, hey, all that cool stuff we're talking about, you can't really get out of that base game.
We'll come back. We'll circle back to that towards the
Okay.
end. One thing component-wise that I have noticed, though, like, after seeing a couple of the really nice painted sets, it definitely, you need to find some way to get it at least sort of painted. Zach, I'm sorry, your copy just doesn't hold up. They cry out to be painted. They deserve to be painted.
All of these minis are
It's-
very high quality plastic that you can, and very highly detailed for you to easily get some great paint in there. The only knock I have against them, the spears and stuff like that they hold and banners are a little wobbly and kind of get bent there. So it probably can be hard to keep the paint from chipping without like a nice primer at the very end. But otherwise, they are extremely detailed.
Well, like our friends Greg and Kyle have a copy that I believe it was Greg who painted, and wow, it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Yeah, well, if somebody wants to paint mine, that's fine, but I would not. It would look worse if I painted it, so I'm just going to keep it how it is.
Yeah.
cough, ant, cough.
There's even aftermarket inserts from Broken Token and stuff that will like have spots for the miniatures where it only holds the miniatures by the base in case you paint them, and so you can store them in the aftermarket.
Which Zach has.
I have that. I have that, and I'm just like, I don't feel like painting them.
They're not even painted.
Yeah.
No. All right, so moving on from there, rules and rules explanation. This is a pretty simple game to explain. You do some drafting, you move some guys around, you have rage each turn, and you spend that rage to take actions. And as long as you have rage, you can keep taking actions, and when you're done, you pass and you're done.
I think it is a pretty simple game. I think the more complicated parts are just, knowing that if ever you go down to 0 rage, that's it, no matter what. So there are a couple ways for people to steal rage from you. And if you don't let those people know, then they're like, oh, I'm at 1 rage, so I'm going to do a bunch of other stuff right now. And then someone steals 1 rage from them. They're like, oh, well, now you can't do anything. And then also when you're the fact that the board actually has finite amount of spaces for your minis, except for the center, making sure that people realize that.
Yggdrasil.
Yeah, Yggdrasil. And so, like, if you're trying to pillage a certain spot, you need to make sure, people can go in there. So make sure you have the upper hand, even if people can go in there. So
Because you get some nice bonuses for owning some of those spots. So informing people of like, hey, it's important to win as well as die.
yes,
Which that's the other kind of weird thing is letting people know that dying isn't always the worst thing. Like, you might throw a guy into a battle you have no chance of winning because you want him to die and be in the death center based on what cards you've drafted and what points you're going to score.
Valhalla.
yeah. So the different upgrade cards, they all have different themes toward them. Like the Loki cards are all about losing battles because
Subterfuge.
Yes,
and
and-
stealing power. And
yes, and then other ones are just about overwhelming power. Others are just like,
Thor.
as long as you participate in the battle, like you get glory for everybody that died.
Yeah.
And so you're,
They should kind of maybe try and focus on a certain set of those.
yeah.
If they're going to go for Loki, go full for Loki and do a lot of subterfuge. If they're going to go for, more combat, make sure you're taking the combat cards and focusing on the combat side of things.
And then also, this game can have some, I'm not going to say broken combos, just like overpowered combos
Yeah,
that
super powerful ones.
that you want to hate draft. This game definitely has a spite draft also works. Yeah. What game were we talking? No, yeah, I think it was just Terraforming Mars.
of course it was.
First mention.
Yes. But you definitely let to know people. It's just like, look, this person keeps getting these, they have the Sea Serpent, which gives them an extra boat, and they have boat upgrades that keep getting them more glory every time their boats are destroyed. So don't let them get the best boat one.
Yeah.
If you can help it, because that's just going to give them so many points.
Many, many points.
Yeah. just letting people know little things on that, I think would make it a better first game. But like you said, it's not that complicated of a game.
Correct. From there, moving on into gameplay, it plays out over 3 rounds where you're going to be starting off each round drafting cards and then going through and playing those cards. And then at the end of the round, one of the provinces gets destroyed in the early...
You know which one is coming.
You know in advance. Yep. And then at the end of the game, you total up all the points and somebody's a winner. The game's not... all the interesting gameplay comes in that drafting and what cards you're going to take and how you're going to play them out across the board. And
if you can like wait and then make a big push at the end, or you try and make a big push at the beginning, because each age ends when either all of the pillage tokens are gone or everybody passes. So if you're trying to watch the games, well, we can get into gameplay for that,
which we are in.
Oh, we are in
gameplay.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Boom. Nailed it. And I lost my thought now.
When your rage runs out,
there we go.
Passing.
Yes. So you sometimes you want to try and you want to try and wait to be like one of the last few players playing, so you can do things with very few responses. But you don't want to be playing too long of a game and then you realize, oh, there's only one pillage left and someone else is going to take it, and I wasn't able to do much this turn.
Or needing to get into a certain territory, but the entire territory is full already.
Exactly.
Because some territories only have 4 spots, and there are some ways to push your way into those areas, but you might not always want to do that when someone claims that whole thing.
Yeah, and especially like if at the end you haven't put your quests out or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Those you want to get out early, I've found, or like early to mid-game of each of the ages, because it really sucks when you're like, oh God, can I get these out before the age ends? And then you realize you were just one turn short, and you're like, God damn it.
Well, they work as a nice stall tactic.
Very true,
like,
yes.
You're like, I'm just going to play this objective face down, and that's my turn. And then that way it passes it on to somebody else. You didn't use any of your rage. You didn't reveal what you're trying to do necessarily. And yeah, so I like to use those especially as a stall. And so you kind of prioritize like, all right, well, this one I really want to make sure I get done. To get played and down, it's going to be my first of the stall tactics.
Yes, I'd agree with that.
So we should mention each clan
Thank you, Jeff.
Is unique-ish. Each clan board has like a certain amount of rage, which you spend on your upgrades. But you can upgrade that rage track, your axes, which is how many victory points you get in battle, or your horns, helmet horns, of course, which is the limit of your figures on the map.
Yep.
And the more you pillage certain areas without other people getting in there and trying to screw up your pillage, the higher these stats will get, and then the more glory you'll get at the end, and then kind of the more ability you'll have to get more points and do more stuff.
Yeah, that was one thing. That was what I was going to say, is that those upgrades, those stat upgrades, are super important, especially in the beginning, the early game, because if you can get it to where you have like 2 or 3 more rage, or you can have 2 or 3 more players and more than anybody else going into that second age, that's going to make a big difference, because each age, the monster, the legendary creatures and the upgrades get more and more expensive. And so you have to be able to keep up with that inflation cost. Otherwise, you're just going to have so much less things you can do. Mm-hmm. And it's also nice that when you put a monster, when you install a monster upgrade or a clan upgrade or not a clan upgrade, a warrior upgrade or a leader upgrade, you get to put one of those guys, you get to invade for free.
Yes.
So you always want to make sure you don't like, oh, I'm going to invade with a warrior and then I'm going to upgrade the warrior. And it's like, that's just a waste of rage.
Yep.
That is something that new people might miss out on a little bit, that you need to make sure that they...
Timing on the...
Yeah, the timing on upgrading those. So...
Yeah, and the upgrades are super unique and super powerful.
Yeah, they are very powerful, but they're all very powerful.
It's one of those things where it's balanced by everything being unbalanced.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
If everyone's special, no one is.
God, I can't wait for that sequel. They're coming out with an Incredibles 2.
Oh, I didn't.
That was an Incredibles reference. If everyone's special, no one is.
Syndrome, really?
I mean, I get it.
Jason Lee.
Now.
God damn it, Jeff.
Pixar.
I saw it in theaters a long time ago.
Sam Jackson.
Frozone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yes.
So we're pretty much wrapped up on gameplay?
What else is there about gameplay?
I don't think there's much else. It's a relatively straightforward game.
Yeah, I mean, you want to die and get to Valhalla, and then some cards, the more Valhalla units you have, the better score you get. I mean, there's a lot of different strategies you can go in the game. You can go boats, you can go murder all of your own dudes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I remember if you get certain combinations, you can send one guy into a fight, lose, and then you get to summon 2 guys in for free.
Yeah.
So it's just like, because everybody else dies, they're like, oh, I'm just sending this one guy so he can die, and I can get more board presence out there.
Uh-huh.
I feel sometimes that this can have a bit of a runaway leader.
Definitely.
Just because I've noticed someone who tends to be in the lead at the end of the second age, it's hard to stop them from being at the leader at the end of the third age unless it was close. Because they tend to have more of those stat upgrades that I was talking about. And if you can have 12 rage and everybody else has 8, there's just so much more stuff that you can do.
Yes.
Right. I think it's also a little bit of the fact that this is definitely a game where knowing the cards that are in the game and how they interact is going to benefit you. So like somebody who's good at this game and plays it a lot is going to do better in every single age. And they do really well in the first age, which puts them in an advantage going into the second age, and then they do well in that, combined with their advantage from doing well in the first age, etc., etc., etc. Especially when you're playing with, if you have any new players, whoever's sitting to the left of a new player isn't going to get those spike drafts, and so they're going to get what they want, or what the things that they can use out of that, and be able to kind of run away with things.
I'd agree with that, yeah.
And just not knowing there's a lot of cards, and not knowing what all the cards are. Like, you might not know that what the troll does, and someone else may have gotten that troll, and you didn't read that card, and you dumped a bunch of dudes in an area, and then when someone puts the troll down, whenever the monster invades a province, destroy all enemy warriors in it, and then you're like, oh, there went all of my dudes. Yeah. I guess I wish I knew that was in the game.
I like that you don't, whenever your guys die, they go to Valhalla, so you can't just resummon them back until the next age.
Yeah, you're resource limited on your models for that age.
Yeah,
even the monsters and stuff like that will go into Valhalla.
Yeah, and so it's nice. One thing that's nice is that a monster, like you said, like the troll, maybe you don't want to go fight in that province at the end of the age because you'll just kill him and he'll come back at the next age and kill more monsters or kill more warriors. Whereas once he is on the board, he can't do his special ability anymore. Yep. So there's little things to think about with that as well.
You can sort of just march.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yes.
Yep. So I think that pretty well covers gameplay. So we can...
Ragnarok is awesome.
Yeah.
Ragnarok is awesome. So I guess this is where we talk about our final thoughts. I'll start, I guess.
Okay.
I don't care for this game. It's one that, in retrospect, looking back in the decision I made, like I said, when it was coming out, I wanted to back it. I was in the height of my minis craze, and it looked awesome. Retrospectively, I'm really glad I didn't. I'm glad I saved that money, because it seems like this is a game where every time I've played it, I've enjoyed it just a little bit less. There's a lot of variability in the drafting, which is... It's funny, it doesn't bother me in a game like Terraforming Mars, where I think drafting massively improves the game, whereas in Blood Rage, I feel like the drafting has a little bit too much randomness and luck of the draw. I don't know. Sometimes my feelings on games don't always make sense. It seems often to me, and this might just be a product of who I've played with, it seems like this game drags on just a little bit longer than I would like. It feels like for being just 3 ages, it should fly by, and yet it always seems like this game ends up taking 2.5, 3 hours. And even if it doesn't, it feels like it does. Yeah, I don't know. I love the minis. I love the artwork, the components. Similar to Scythe, a lot of the things that I would that would make me want to like this game, I just end up not. This one is another one kind of like Scythe. I struggle to really put my finger exactly on something I don't like, because everything in this game I like in other games, but the way it all comes together in this one just doesn't quite click for me.
You're also not that big a fan of area control games that much, right?
And that is something I'm realizing more and more. Area control games are definitely not my jam. So I think that is a big part of it.
Gotcha.
So which one do you want next? Hefe?
Sure. I love dudes on a map games, so I sort of also love this one. It also helps that it has gorgeous, wonderful miniatures and sweet drafting and I like the upgrades that you can put on your guys. The rage horns and axes upgrades are super awesome. Another one of my favorite games is Chaos in the Old World, which is Warhammer Fantasy, which is basically this game, but re-implemented as Vikings.
Yeah, because Eric Lang made that one as well.
Yeah.
So
They're both fantastic games, pretty similar with the crazy overpowered ness on it. No real Valhalla in there, but I love Chaos in the Old World, and I'm glad I got a copy of it before it went out of print. But I don't know if I'm ever going to own Blood Rage just because of all of the Kickstarter exclusive stuff. And then like they've kind of spun a lot of them out into expansions, but then I mean you could probably find Blood Rage for like $50, and then each one of those expansions is like another $25-$30 for like 4 or 5 miniatures sometimes, which can be kind of pricey if you didn't get in on that ground level for the Kickstarter.
Oh no, yeah, the Kickstarter was like $75.
Yeah,
I think,
which is steal.
Yeah.
Highway robbery for how much you get in this game, because it is an amazing box of stuff that you get. I like playing it, but I might enjoy playing other people's copies that have all of the cool badass stuff that came in that Kickstarter.
Right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So for me, I really like this game.
It's a good game.
Yeah. I think Dude on a Map games, they live or die for me based a lot on their theme. Like this one, or like, you know, my mythic setting games, I tend to like those a lot. Whereas like Small World, where it's just like fantasy, just straight fantasy.
Wizards.
Yeah, I don't really care that much about it. Or if it's like, war, historical sort of stuff, I tend to not like it as much. But so the theme, like I said, the theme initially grabbed me on this, and I really do like the gameplay. This game helped me realize that I'm okay if I don't play Seven Wonders, because I'd rather play a game with drafting in it than just a game about drafting. I like you were saying, Jeff, I really like all of the upgrades, how personal you can try and make your clan at the end of the game versus when you start.
I've never had the same combination twice.
Yes, exactly. I do like that it is still up in your face, and that it feels like there's a lot going on in the game, even on those turns where it's like, oh, I'm just going to do a quest or something. It's like Adrian was saying, it's like I'm stalling so that I can try and do, or I just need to get these in because these are going to get the most points before it ends, before
another province explodes.
Exactly. Yes.
So that kind of wraps up our final thoughts for Blood Rage. I don't care for it. Both Zach and Jeff really like it.
Yeah. But it's sort of hard to recommend.
Yes. However,
not as hard for me. But.
Yeah.
However,
but I know how great it could be.
Yeah.
If you decide to go for it and try out the base game, it is currently well available in stock all over the place. Typically runs right around the $60 mark. You can catch it a little bit under, a little bit over, depending on where you go. Time Well Spent Games here out of Denver, they've got it for $64. Miniature Market has it for $64. Amazon's got it for $57, but might not include shipping. Yeah. So right around $60, depending on where you get it from. So yeah, if it sounds interesting to you, feel free to go check that out.
Yes. I remember us waiting all day to play Blood Rage at Gen Con, the Gen Con it came out of, while they were literally sitting there assembling the miniatures, and we were never able to play because we signed up for that like little fair from Cool Mini.
Yeah.
And then we never actually were able to get in a game because it was always packed.
Bummer.
Yeah.
I played a bunch of other Cool Mini games, but not Blood Rage.
Yep.
Right. So as always, Zach put up one of our thread posts about the episode on our BGG guild, which is guild number 2731, and we have some responses. So Zach, you want to take that away?
Jake says, I have a feeling that this game will be looked back on as a pivot point of Kickstarter excess. The game plays great with all of the exclusive content, but I continually hear of people that won't even play it without the hundreds of dollars of excess content. Sure, the Zombicide Kickstarter campaigns have had the same pile of plastic problem, but particularly this game had the community up in arms. Stonemaier is another big Kickstarter juggernaut, or was. they're moving off of Kickstarter and have not produced exclusives, or at least have offered that content at retail. All of this is a long way of saying, are Kickstarter exclusives destructive to the hobby? Are companies like Stonemaier saving us from DLC and pre-order hell?
So go ahead and move on and read Eric's too, because they kind of both play. Actually, read all three because they all play into the same discussion we're going to have.
Okay. Eric also says, elephant in the room whenever Blood Rage is discussed, especially the Kickstarter version. How do you feel about CMON's Kickstarter exclusives? Blood Rage is one of my favorite games, but I missed the Kickstarter campaign. So I have to say I'm happy that everything I've read about the exclusives indicate that they aren't a necessary addition to the game. I couldn't imagine trying to hunt them down in the secondary market. And then finally, Mike says, I really enjoy this game. I've picked up all the expansions, but don't have any of the Kickstarter exclusive stuff. I've played a friend's copy with the Kickstarter monsters, and while I'd love to have them, I don't feel my copy is incomplete or that I've missed out on anything major. I'm surprised how easy this game is to teach. I just talked to new people through the turn order track and the actions that are listed on the player boards, and it goes pretty quick. I really enjoy the card draft and adjusting your strategy to what other people are doing. It's a solid game that continues to hit the table on my group.
So, yeah, kind of going back to front on this a little bit, we talked about that a little bit in the rule stuff, what Mike was saying there. It is surprisingly simple game to teach. There's not a lot of rules complexity or gameplay complexity. All of the main things in this game come from what cards you're going to play, how you're going to play them, and the interaction you're going to have with other players. So although I don't personally care for it a whole lot, I can definitely understand why this is a game that a lot of people are able to get to the table regularly and do enjoy playing. Yeah.
Makes sense, yeah.
And then all three of them kind of touched on, both Eric and Mike mentioned that they don't have the Kickstarter editions, and they don't feel like they're missing out on anything. And then Jake talked about that it plays great without all the exclusive content, but he constantly hears about people who won't play it without all that extra stuff. And I know for me, this was something back when I was interested in this game that I struggled with. When I realized I wasn't going to be able to back the Kickstarter, a big part of me was like, well, since I'm not going to be able to get it during the Kickstarter or the Pledge Manager, I'll probably never buy it because I now know about all that exclusive stuff. That's something that for a long time was an issue for me with Zombicide. Some of that early stuff, I feel like my game is lacking because I don't have some of these characters. Never mind the fact that across the 4 seasons of Zombicide I have, the 3 regular ones and Black Plague, I've got 200 characters. They don't all even... There's some of them I never play. So...
Some of them are mine.
A decent amount of them are yours. Well, especially all the Season 1 stuff I have now.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are terrible characters you never want to play with anyway, so it doesn't matter if you don't have them.
Yeah.
I remember... a lot of people saying that, and so I actually, I looked up the actual exclusive characters, and it's actually there's only 4 new monsters that are Kickstarter exclusive.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Wolfman, the Mystic Troll, the Mountain Giant, and Fenrir, the Giant Wolf.
And Fenrir's pretty cool.
That's the only one that it's like, oh, it sucks that people missed out on that one because he gets to wherever he is, that's where Ragnarok happens.
Yep.
But all the other ones, like the Wolfman, is a lot of people find annoying and not in a good way. But I definitely think this is one of their most complete games that you can get it without the Kickstarter exclusives and be okay. It sucks that all the sculpted stuff you miss out on, but I think there's enough monsters in the base game that you're okay without having those 4 additional ones.
But then there's the completionists out there that are like, man,
exactly.
I really wish I had these 4 options. I love this game. I've played it, 3 dozen times. Yeah. How cool would it be that I had fucking Fenrir in there that would change this game so much?
And then it also my copy came with the Mystics, and then it also came with the Gods. But those are both expansions that you still can get those. And then it came with one unique clan, Kickstarter exclusive clan, but that didn't even mean you could play 5 players. It just was an additional clan to look at. So
it's serpents?
No, it was the wild boars.
Oh, okay.
And
so it's just more or less a cosmetic one.
Exactly.
Yeah. I've never had a problem with cosmetic exclusives.
Yes.
But they are super cool looking, and it would be nice to have those.
Yeah. So realistically, I think this game, if this sounds like a game that's interesting to you or you want to pick it up, you're going to be fine picking up the retail copy. And if you go for any of the exclusive stuff, Fenrir is the main one that I think is most missing from the base game.
I would agree with that. He also looks the best too.
He looks awesome. So then going back to Jake's question, this will be a nice little branching discussion we can have here. He says, he said all of his stuff was a long-winded way of asking, are Kickstarter exclusives destructive to the hobby? And are companies like Stonemaier saving us from DLC and pre-order hell? I don't think they are destructive in and of themselves yet. I think that the board gaming hobby, you still have enough games that don't even go through Kickstarter, that are just released as normal releases.
Oh yeah, definitely, yes.
That I think that they're not yet destructive. I think they are it's a little bit worrisome when you see a company like Cool Mini with some of their huge miniature games where you can tell that they launch their game, they wait and see what their funding's at, and then they release a bunch of stretch goals that are clearly they're pre-planned to just maximize the funding, and they include a bunch of exclusive stuff that you're almost, unless you buy now, you're never going to get. And I think it is a little bit preying on that completionist mentality that a lot of board gaming people seem to have
in general.
Oh my god, I need everything. What do you mean I don't have this character? My game is not complete. My life is not complete. I'm in ruins. So although I don't care for it, and I think Cool Mini has gotten a little bit excessive with it, I don't think it's destructive to the hobby.
I know for me, these sort of games they feel like events almost. I don't put these in terms of just it is Epidemic 2 or what, it's other games are starting to do this. The entire hobby is starting to do this. I feel like it's really localized to a couple companies that it does sort of suck that the people who get Blood Rage now can't get those characters. But then it's also like you're saying, there are just so many other games that I know there's some games now that I would have Idrisil, which is a cooperative game, was one that I really wanted to get, but it went out of print, and it's super expensive to get now, if at all. And so like you said, or I agree with you, it doesn't really bother me that much, but that's also I've always felt, board gaming is a luxury hobby, and so if you couldn't get it here, and
we'll have to have that discussion later because I think that can lead to an interesting discussion on inclusion and widening the appeal of the hobby. I want board gaming to be vastly accessible, and so saying that it's a luxury hobby and that that makes it sound like only people who have the money for it get to enjoy it, and I think that sucks.
Well, okay, yeah, I don't even mean just that. I mean it's a hobby that you do just because you want to do it and you have to spend money to do it. I don't know.
That'll be a separate discussion for a separate day. Jeff, what are your thoughts on Kickstarter exclusives and stuff?
I'm a big completionist with my stuff. I have a hole in my heart because I won't be able to get the Chaos in the Old World expansion because it's $250, $500. It's because the GW license went out. And it was way out of stock before that, and now it will never be back in print. It's secondary market for that, and it adds a fifth player expansion, which is super huge to that game. Thankfully Ant owns it, but I would like to have those things. I get turned away from games that had Kickstarter exclusive stuff that I get to miss out on, Seventh Continent, which has come out or will be coming out, had just a ridiculous amount of extra cards that were Kickstarter exclusive, and now I'm just going to miss out on those. And I was like, the game's probably fine, but they had so much Kickstarter exclusive stuff in there that it's do I care about getting this game anymore?
Right.
But Blood Rage, it's a totally awesome game even without all of that. But how much more awesome could it be if you had all that stuff?
Yeah. And the second part of Jake's comment there, companies like Stonemaier are saving us from DLC and Pro to Hell. I don't think they're saving us, but I do really appreciate that Jamie decided to move Stonemaier away from Kickstarter, that he reached a point where, he has enough success and he's having, he doesn't feel like he needs Kickstarter anymore. And that's been part of my problem with the whole Kickstarter thing that it's become recently, is that there's a lot of companies who they don't need a Kickstarter. Cool Mini does not need a Kickstarter to put out these games or to even fund all their extras. Like they could put all of that in a game and ship it, and they would still sell just a ton of copies. And so I do like that a company like Stonemaier kind of stepped away and was like, no, we're not going to do Kickstarter anymore. We're going to go back to we're going to put out the game, and the game is the game.
Yeah, I appreciate that for sure. And like Gloomhaven, I missed out on the note in the box for it from the Kickstarter, but
that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I still gave them money. But I mean, if they had like in Gloomhaven, if they had like Kickstarter exclusive characters to that game, like those, like that would be like huge stuff that you're missing out of that game, or like a special tile that only certain scenarios can use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad some games don't go that route.
Yeah, it definitely is a major plus for me when a game either doesn't have Kickstarter exclusives, period, or if they do, they're purely cosmetic.
Or you can buy them at retail or something like that.
But then they're not a Kickstarter exclusive.
Well, so that's true. But I guess I mean in the sense of like games that are like, you're going to have all this stuff for free, or if you don't get the Kickstarter, you can buy all this stuff later.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you have the option to acquire it at some point. Like that's more okay with me.
Mm-hmm. Okay. We'll see how Rising Sun does.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah, that wraps up Blood Rage, right?
Accurate.
So, Jeff, you want to? We did get a couple emails. You want to run away with some emails here?
Absolutely, I will run away with them. Emails at milehighgameguys.com if you would like us to read your email on air, live right now, but not when you listen to it.
This was recorded live.
Yes. In front of no audience. I don't know, whatever bugs are on the screen of the kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't know. You got Brian and the turtle.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, the turtles. Yeah, that's true. We have a turtle.
Yeah.
Sure, he doesn't care.
I kicked the dogs out of the room, so no live studio dogs over here.
Okay. First email comes from Mike, titled "Great episode!" ! We're just gonna pronounce all punctuation from now on, by the way. It reads, "Howdy, y'all. I just wanted to say I really enjoyed the episode on Food Chain Magnate, and I like you guys having guests join you on the podcast. Adrian may have won out and nudged me closer to playing this game at some point. Hopefully playing, not owning."
Yeah. Well, and I will definitely, work with you, and like sometime when I'm going to be down around the Springs, or if you're ever up back in Denver, I'd be happy to teach this game.
And then if you're in Denver, just let us know when you're done, and then me and Jeff will come join you and play games.
Play something else.
Enjoy him ruining you, so no one will ever love you again. Mike continues. Your conversation made me think about what to expect out of the first play of a game. Do you expect to be able to understand the game pretty quickly? Do you see your first game as a trial run just to get the feel of the game? Have you ever restarted a game halfway through after something clicked with the group? How often do you realize you've been playing a game rule wrong halfway through a game? How do you handle a situation where you have one or two people who have played a game and the rest haven't? Or haven't played a game and the rest have? Do you take a bit easier on them or spend more time pointing out strategies? I played Viticulture last weekend for the first time, and I felt I had a decent grasp of it about halfway through the game. I was just in time to realize that I had peaked too early, and I had a shitty last round as I watched everyone else blow me away. Hoping to get that one back to the table soon, Mike. So we'll wrap around to these many questions here.
Yeah, that works.
He filed in. So I think that the first set was big, like your first play of games. Like how do you treat them?
So,
you go first, Adrian.
All right. So for me, it vastly depends on the type of game and a bunch of different circumstances. First time, especially for me as more of the heavy gamer of the group, I do not even remotely anticipate understanding the game quickly my first time. If I'm playing a heavy game, like I expect to go into it not understanding much, and I expect somewhere along the way for it to click. And exactly what you mentioned for like your third question there, like where something clicks and all of a sudden you're like, I should have been playing everything different. Like this episode in the Banter, we talked about Yokohama. And like there was a point in that game where something clicked and it was like, oh wait, I've been screwing that up. But depending on the game, especially a game like Yokohama, I stayed in that. I misplayed a rule. I was the only one who really misplayed it, and I stayed competitive most of the game. So a game like that where it's not prone to somebody just running away, and if I'm not like, unbearably behind when I realize I've been playing a rule wrong, I'm not going to try and restart it or anything like that. I do agree. I do kind of view, like, the question, do you see the first game as a trial run? Like, yes, 100%. Most of the time I sit down and play a game the first time. It's a learning game. I'm not going to worry too much about whether I win or lose, or I want to play right, but I also at the same time expect at some point to realize that I played something wrong. That seems to happen pretty frequently in our group. Hell, the first time we played a game with you, we taught you a rule wrong. So in Stockpile, we were still doing the things in the wrong order on that.
That we were.
It's an insider trading game without the insider part.
Yeah.
I have not personally restarted a game halfway through, but I think that, like, one thing that I do fairly often, certainly not halfway through. However, a lot of times, depending on the game, there are some games that I do think are best for people to learn by doing. And so maybe we'll play 1 round or 2 rounds if they're quick and be like, all right, now that you understand kind of how these things happen in order and the way the game works, now let's start again. And that's kind of what we talked about last week with Food Chain. If you really have a bunch of newbies, maybe play a couple rounds to where you get to see 1 full round where there's some marketing and there's some dinner time events. If we realize we've been playing a rule wrong halfway through the game, that really varies on the rule. Like, if it's not a big deal, if it's a huge deal, we'll amend to the correct rule. And, if it looks like it's disproportionately going to hurt someone, maybe try and find a way to, house rule a compensation real quick. If it's a minor rule that we don't think has had a big effect, then, we usually almost always change to the correct rule. But it's just how we handle that change varies a little bit based on whether it's a major rule that might have hurt somebody or helped somebody exorbitantly, or if it's a minor rule like an edge rule that didn't really matter. I don't know. That one varies so much on context. So, yeah. So that's just that first little paragraph. I'm not going to cover all his questions in one shot. Zach, you want to run away with the next part? Well, not the next part. Okay, I
was going to say, can I actually talk about that or not?
No, you cannot. We each get one of his paragraphs.
Son of a bitch.
I'll talk about the one about viticulture.
There you go. So for me, what I expect out of the first play of a game is I expect to play the game. I'm fine with like after getting the grasp of the rules from them. I will learn the game as I go. I tend to be pretty quick at learning games, so it won't take me halfway through a game to be like, oh, this is how the game works. And I really don't like the idea of playing a couple rounds or even up to half a game and be like, okay, now that you understand the game, let's start over. I was like, no, let's just finish the game that we're already playing.
Yes.
And then let's see.
We've definitely screwed up rules in games before,
yes,
but we usually just sort of go with it and try.
Yeah, it depends. For me, at least, if some rules we've been like, okay, well, we were playing this wrong, but it'd be too messed up to switch to how it's supposed to go. So we'll just keep doing this. Like, we played Game of Thrones 4 times before we realized we were playing it extremely wrong. So,
but that was one we didn't realize halfway through the game. We realized in between games.
Oh no, I understand. I'm just saying that it's been multiple game lengths where it's just like in Stockpiles, the same sort of thing. Where like, oh, we were doing this completely wrong. I've never had any huge egregious rule error in the middle of the game. Most of the time they are fairly minor, and it's just like, okay, well, just start playing the correct way.
Yeah,
Adrian.
What?
Just saying, Yokohama, you could have been listening. That's all I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah. What about you, Jeff?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with all those. You just kind of go with it and be like, oh yeah, totally fucked that up. All right, let's just not fuck it up anymore for the rest of this game.
Yes.
We should be okay.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm always one to give tips to new players in games.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like in Food Chain, that's almost mandatory for anyone to actually enjoy that game.
I had a question for you specifically, though, Jeff. So, like, back on the earlier paragraph, before we move on to tips for new players and all of that stuff. So I talked a little bit about, like, as a heavy gamer, I don't expect to understand games very quickly. As the one in this group who predominantly plays stuff like war games and big miniature battle games, in those, when you play those for the first time, because that's something that like I'm interested in. I enjoyed playing HeroScape with Zach. It's on the very light end of those types of games. What do you expect to get out of those on your first time? Like when you're trying out a new miniature war game, like the new Necromunda. Like, I don't think you've gotten a chance to actually play that yet.
No, not yet. Until Ant gets back from Peru.
Yeah. So what are you expecting, like, going into that game? Like, are you expecting to be a competitive game? Is it a learning game?
It's absolutely learning games usually in that first. As long as both of you are on the same page. I mean, if you aren't, you can be expected to ask questions about specific rules and things like that. But usually at no part, unless it's like major, like I'm moving 12 inches and it's like, well, you can only move 6. Like that's, you just point out things that they're doing incorrectly over and over until they get it.
Yeah.
And then usually in like something like Necromunda or Blood Bowl, be like, hey, usually you start doing this once you are trouncing them and then they can't catch up. But like, hey, this is actually a way better move for you. And then you will teach them like, hey, this is how you recognize this play can work a lot better. You could move your skink through here and then toss the ball. And then like, I'm totally screwed if you get that guy through there. Or like, hey, you should like with your guard squad, shoot over there first with your armored stuff. Because if it blows up, you'll have line of sight to my command squad. And then if you do that, I'm totally screwed. Things like that. I am always one to give helpful tips. When Ant and I played Necromunda for the first time, it'll probably be just a learning game of like, oh, we screwed this rule up, we screwed that rule up, we've been screwing this up for 2 games. Because if you've ever seen a wargaming rulebook, they are dense and thick.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, rule A, subsection B, part 3.
Don't forget to reference the FAQ released on March 17th for an update to this wording. Things like that.
Yeah. Okay. So then go ahead, Jeff, and continue on with that next little thing that for playing with new players.
How do you handle a situation when you have 1 or 2 people who haven't played a game or the rest have? Do you take it a bit easier on them or spend some time pointing out strategies? I rarely in this group do we take it easy on anyone.
No, I definitely don't ever take it easy on somebody.
Yeah,
I think that's patronizing and that's not cool.
Yeah. But we probably do spend more time on pointing out strategies.
Yes. I know even like when we were playing Yokohama, and Paul actually got mad at this on occasion because me and Paul had watched some stuff, but Adrian was just learning from us. There were a couple times I was like, so if you did this and this instead, you'd actually get something a lot better.
He got same thing happened the last game we had a food chain. I was doing that to somebody like, wait, if you actually maybe did this, it'd work a little bit better.
I try and do that for learning games, people that are it's like, oh yeah, that one is good. If you do this one, you could do better, and try to help people see it. Or like for cooperative games, I'll try and give them like 2 choices, so they feel like it's up to them. Or like I try and have somebody sort of tell me what they're thinking, and try. It's like, well, what do you want to do? And no, I want to do this. Why do you think it'll be good? And if they give out a good reason. If it looks like they're actually thinking about the game, then it's like, okay, even if it wasn't the best move, I'm still going to let them do it. But if they're like, oh, I just want to move here, and I'm like, why do you want to do it? I just want to move there. Okay, well, here's good options that you could be doing instead.
Don't do that.
I
was just going to say, I try and help people when it's their first time playing. Just so that they feel they try, so they can get the game better, so they can be more competitive.
Gotcha. So I mean, kind of same thing. If some people haven't played and others have, I'm certainly not a fan of taking it easier on anybody. Period. One thing that I know can be very frustrating is if you, like, for me personally, and then even like this is a conversation I've had with Megan a lot, running into situations where somebody's taking it easy on you because they think that you might not be as good, whether it's because, you're new to that style of game or new to that game, or you're new to the group and they don't really know you. Like, most of the time playing games, like if I'm sitting down to play a game, I want, we've had this discussion, but when we talk about my views on like heavy games with I don't like randomness. I want to sit down and I want to win because I played best. I don't want to win because somebody took it easy on me. I don't want to win because of random dice rolls. And I try and approach games that same way. Like, I'll be up front with people. Like, I know you're new at this game. Like, hey, you're learning food chain, and I've played a half a dozen times. You're not going to beat me. I'm sorry. That's probably not going to happen. I'm not going to take it easy on you. Like, if you beat me, then, dude, you're good at this game. That's awesome. But if this is your first time playing, you're probably going to make some mistakes. I'm probably going to beat you. And then that's where kind of getting into, like, restarting halfway through with games like that. Like, I don't want to, if it becomes apparent that somebody's out in a game like that, I don't want to force, like, drag them through,
We're finishing this because I want to let you know how badly I beat you.
Especially with a new player. If it's somebody who's played before, and then that's where it gets tricky, like, especially like a 2-player game, there's really no reason to do it. If it's a 5-player game and 2 people have fallen behind and 3 are competitive, then you get into a moral dilemma where it's like, well, is it worth letting the 3 people figure out who won out of that and subjecting the other 2 who are behind to a rule as they can't win? Like, that's a tough thing that it depends on the group and the people, and you got to kind of play that by ear.
Yeah.
As for spending more time pointing out strategies, that one I try to be really careful on, because I'll let people know that if they want strategic advice, I'm happy to give it. And I'll be honest about it. Like, I'm not going to give you bad advice so that I can win, because that's stupid.
Yeah, that's very bad.
Attack immediately.
However, I don't want to tell somebody how to play a game. Kind of like what you were saying, Zach. Like, if somebody wants to do a move, maybe ask them why. And if it seems like they've put some thought into it, like, yeah, go for it. Where that came up in the banter I was talking about teaching my mom and my brother. There'd be times where it'd be like, oh, I want, my mom would be like, all right, well, I have this much money. Like, I've got like 4 buying power. Should I buy the 3 or the 4? Like, and it's like, well, I'm not going to tell you to buy this one specifically because I know it's the best card. Here's what I would look at comparing them. Like, I'd look at this card and see that it does this, and I look at this one and see that it does that, and kind of give them the information they need to make the right decision. I don't want to tell them what the right decision is.
You just want them to make an informed decision, so you just inform them.
Exactly. So it's definitely a tough line to balance. So. And then the last part of his email wasn't really a question. All I have to say on that is I really want to play Viticulture. I've heard really good things about Viticulture. I need to play that game sometime. So maybe sometime I'll make a trip down to the Springs, Mike, and I'll teach you food chain, and you can teach me Viticulture, and it'll be great. So next email, Jeff.
Indeed, this one comes from Jay, titled "Recommendations." Hey guys, I've been listening to your podcast and have some game recommendations for you. I haven't listened to all the podcasts, but maybe 15 plus of the games I was most interested in. From you guys talking, I was surprised there were certain games you haven't played yet, and that is what comprises the list below. Kemet. For dudes on a map, this game is good. I couldn't tell you which one I like better comparing this to Blood Rage. From turn 1 on Kemet, you have to push out of the map and fight, or you're going to lose hard. A lot of games have to get ramped up. You build up and then go out and fight, but not Kemet. You can be out there mixing it up on turn 1. I have not played Cyclades yet, but I am planning on getting that, and then the C3K expansion, where you can share the monsters from Cyclades and Kemet. You've played those?
I've played Cyclades. I have both, but I've only played Cyclades.
And I've also played Cyclades. I have not yet played Kemet.
That's one thing that I've heard about, like, where Cyclades is very strategic in the sense, like, you have to make a lot of plans in order to make an attack. Kemet is, like you said, turn 1, you can immediately start attacking somebody.
Start being a dick.
Yes, and it's a lot more aggressive than Cyclades. So yeah, I definitely need to bring it to the table at some point.
Yeah, I've played neither, and I probably should play both.
You should.
Yeah. Arcadia Quest. This is similar to Zombicide. You control 3 characters and have quests to complete on the map. The catch is you attack and kill each other to complete quests as well. So you might help another player to kill a monster, and then your buddy turns around and kills you. It's a lighthearted game, though, and if you are killed, you just spawn again your next turn and jump back into action. I think Adrian and I played this the year it came out at Gen Con.
Oh, okay.
It was a demo, but...
Yeah, it was while we were waiting for Blood Rage to open up, and it didn't, and so we were playing Arcadia Quest instead. And this is a game, for as backstabby and treacherous as it gets, it does stay fairly lighthearted. I didn't super care for the art style for the characters and the minis.
Chibi.
Yeah, they're chibi. but it was an interesting take on a game. I know it is a very popular one. It's not super up my alley, at least the way my gaming has progressed. But I had fun with it 2 years ago when I played it. So
I know Pork Chop, our friend Pork Chop, has this in the second. It's Arcadia Quest Inferno. It's standalone, like Zombicide 2 sort of thing.
Okay.
It looks cool. I really like some of those minis, especially he got the giant dragons. They're like this tall and they're
That's
huge.
what I would say 5 inches or so.
Yeah, especially with the wings. It's pretty
See,
nice.
and it's great because now I get to experience what the listener just went through there. As I'm remotely, we don't even have a Skype video up, so Zach says it was this tall, and I'm just assuming that he held his hands in some vague distance apart from one another.
It was just for you, Adrian.
Yes. Castles of Burgundy. This is mainly directed at Adrian, although I think all you guys would like it. I think one of the guys even mentioned having it or playing it one episode. I would consider Castles the best midweight Euro. The more I play it, the more I like it, and the more I can see different strategies emerge. I have owned this game for quite some time and have never played it.
I have played it, and I did not like it at all.
Okay.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Zach does not like this game.
But that's mainly just because the art and the theme. And,
It's the typical dry Euro thing that Zach doesn't really go for.
Yes.
It seems very Victorian.
I have not played it, and it is on my very short list of games that I need to play soon to, fill out my heavy Euro gamer cred.
Yeah. Tyrants of the Underdark. Deck building plus board for Zach and Jeff. You guys seem to like deck builders, and this meshes together deck building and area control. You're one of the families of Dark Elves and are trying to spread out and conquer as much as you can of the board using your deck. There are 4 factions for the deck you draw from. You take 2 and mix them together to create the draw deck. This adds some replayability, and they have having a new expansion come out in a couple months. I
think they're going to have a new expansion.
Yes.
I think it was probably one of those things. Like I do this all the time, where like I'll type something and I'll go back to retype it and I'll miss part of it. I think it was supposed to maybe originally be like, and they are having a new expansion come out, and then maybe you went back and were like, they have a new expansion coming out, and it just they both got left.
I want to say CJ owns this.
Okay.
But I have never played it.
I have never played it either.
Yeah,
I think this is in the D&D universe.
Yes, it is very much dark elves and spider people. It looks very interesting, but I guess probably the D&D sort of warded me off of it.
Yeah, I would say the same for me.
But it's more board game than paper pencil, which I mean, I love paper pencil, but
have to keep an eye out for it.
Dedication.
Correct.
Check those out, guys. Sorry if I missed it and you have already mentioned them. I don't think we have.
Yeah. Really.
P.S. I blocked my phone number out this time. Best regards, Jay.
And he did, in fact. It is now parentheses XXX parentheses XXX dash XX.
Yes.
Well, it's a good thing that we already have a stored email that has that number on there. So.
In case you ever need to get a hold of him.
Yeah.
Jay's going to start getting some prank calls.
What's up, motherfucker?
Thank you, Jay, for sending out those recommendations. Especially, I like that he actually tailored them to our interests. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, very appreciative.
So, I definitely want to play.
That's it for emails.
Yeah, that's it for emails.
And that's emails at milehighgameguys.com if you would like to email us.
Yeah. And then we have to go back briefly and touch on a Twitter from last week that I so rudely forgot. Sadly neglected to mention. I got a little lost in the shuffle. I'm sorry. So, Of Dice and Men, some awesome podcasters from Canada they actually have a community radio show that they then release as a podcast, which I kind of want to do now. It sounds awesome. I just want to be on the airwaves in and around Denver. And with a nice studio and everything.
I don't think we can curse unless we would then become pirate radio.
No, we would definitely have to stop the cursing, which is why it will probably never happen. Anyway, so for this was in regards to Food Chain Magnate. They wanted to hear our take. Are we pro or anti milestones? Prefers them without, but you can't play a long game without them. We talked about it a little bit in the review.
A little bit.
I'm not I have no interest in playing without milestones. I am very much pro milestones. I am pro long games. I almost always throw in the 300 card. I love long games of Food Chain. So
everyone knows how to defeat you.
Yes.
Just throw in hundreds and be like, oh.
Yes, this is correct.
I would probably play either way. I'd give no milestones a definite try.
I would give it one try just to see if I liked it any better than regular Food Chain.
But unfortunately, I have not had a chance to try without milestones yet.
So, we'll probably see about throwing like the two of you and Wesley and somebody else in a 4 or 5 player game of Food Chain without Paul or I.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll set up a situation where like we'll set up our audio equipment and Paul and I will live commentate. The 5 of you playing Food Chain.
That sounds insufferable.
We'll just talk shit on your terrible decisions.
Can we not hear you while you do any of this?
We could maybe set up some kind of a remote recording so that we're in the other room watching it on a TV, just
Some
talking
sort of
shit about you.
No,
Cone of
Paul's
silence.
voice is going to go through the wall and into our soul.
Sounds about right.
Cone of silence.
But yeah, so that sums up our thoughts on milestones very briefly. Like I said, we mentioned a little bit in the review, talking about trying to play without them or anything. I'm not particularly interested in doing that, but if it works for other people, go for it. It's in the rules.
I never heard that rule.
There's a beginner game in the rules. You leave out the milestones. You put in $100 per player, and you end the game when the bank breaks once.
Sounds like a nice learning game.
Yes, indeed.
So that's it for questions, comments, concerns, Board Game Geeks, Twitters, and emails.
Correct. So...
Almost record numbers of...
Almost record numbers.
Yeah.
More and more people are listening.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Someday I'll have to cull out emails, but at 2...
It's not
I don't really have to do that yet.
No. So next week is going to be a little bit smaller review segment. We're not going to review one game super in-depth. We're going to instead kind of discuss hidden role games. And we are also planning on playing a game of Win, Lose, Banana on the show. Full shenanigans. Jeff has never even heard of Win, Lose, Banana, aside from us talking about playing it, so he knows nothing about the game. Zach and I have some vague idea of how to play.
Oh, I've been watching strategies, don't worry.
Okay, well, so Zach's been pulling a Paul and watching all the strategies. I have a vague idea of how the game plays. Jeff only knows the name.
Indeed.
So that'll be interesting, playing some... we'll probably play a few rounds of that. And that'll be next episode. That'll be episode 47, which means we are just getting closer and closer to that big episode 50 1-year milestone. I think we're going to make it at this point, right?
Well,
what's going to come up in 4 weeks?
We've got some bad news for you. You're off the podcast.
Yeah. You can't take that rental car back. You're just staying in St. Louis.
Well, I'm going to quick change all the passwords, and I'm going to start rogue posting.
Well, we'll just take all the equipment and then
fine.
start our own podcast.
And we'll just take Megan's computer for...
With blackjack and hookers.
Yes.
That's fine. If you take Megan's computer, I know who to send her after, and she'll come break some kneecaps.
She probably knows how.
Yeah.
And then nurse you back to health. And then break them again. Very repeatedly.
That seems worse.
It'll be a misery situation.
Yeah,
Classic Stephen King.
Yes,
Stephen
it is.
King, yes.
So, anyway, I think that pretty much wraps everything up for this episode. If you have any thoughts on our review of Blood Rage, or if you want to give us any thoughts on social deduction games, feel free to get a hold of us on our Board Game Geek Guild 2731. Zach will have a thread up, I'm sure, maybe even before he leaves to come to Geekway.
Yeah, I'll probably do it on Thursday.
And then next time we record, I'll be the odd man out.
No, we'll be coming back.
You're back by Monday. That's right.
I'll be back Monday, so we'll all be back together for Monday's recording.
Don't worry, Jeff. You don't have to be without one of us.
Okay.
This is true. But yeah, so Board Game Guild 2731. Stay tuned for Zach's post there. Zach and I and Paul will all be at Geekway this weekend, so we will have some Geekway coverage when we come back next week.
I'm excited to hear about all of your Geekway coverage.
Yeah.
I'm sure I won't see
Listen to us
constant...
having fun.
Yeah, while I work. I'm sure I won't see constant text and pictures either way.
Yep.
I'll act surprised.
Text, pictures, Twitters, all of that.
Yes.
As always, if you want to get a hold of us, you can tweet me at MHGameGuys on Twitter.
I'm Zach_MHGG.
And I'm Jeff_MHGG.
And Facebook and Instagram at milehighgameguys.com. Or at milehighgameguys. Our website is milehighgameguys.com.
Indeed it is.
It is relatively fancy. And
Relatively.
yeah. We'll be getting a new one hopefully soon. We'll see.
Yeah.
So,
Upgrade.
as always, I've been your host, Adrian.
I'm still Zach.
And I'm Radnigar Jeff.
Very nice.
Okay, then.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah, it's real fucked up. Also, Eternal Darkness was the game I was thinking of, not Deadly Premonition with the save file bug. Deadly Premonition just has the detective thing. I don't know why I thought Eternal Darkness. But Deadly Premonition was an Xbox 360 game.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, Jeff. So we talked about this entire game wrong.
Yes, we did.